Smiles, look forward. 45 seconds.
We're live.
And welcome. welcome. We there. Blackout.
And boom.
we there. And blackout, folks. Blackout. Yep, that's what they're telling us this morning. They said
what?
The Demerara
interconnected
Barbados, New York, Cleveland interconnected system has gone. But we're happy that you guys are here with us, and we are here with you. And we're privileged to have back our co-host Amanda Walton Desir joining us this morning.
Morning, everyone.
Charita's here. No, Charita, I was there. I was there. But good to see you folks. Welcome to FYI, each and every one of you. Blackout in Guyana. We're still trying to assess the extent of the blackout. The outage here, in Trinidad, when there's blackout, people change governments. But here,
it was quite off-putting this morning to be able to not be able to function in the manner that you're accustomed, and it really does beg the question: how ready are we really to do business? How ready are we for the big leagues?
We ready for showtime. We ready. We were
a lot to be done.
We were going somewhere in this. We were going to Kitty Carter with David Patterson and the other folks.
Yeah.
Blackouts were a thing of the past. Now here we are. A little generator humming in the background. You're just hoping the lights and can't out. How are you going to do business in the 21st century like this? We really worked Concord for 5 years.
Share this old school. Should bring these words. I saw a lot of comments online. Our person saying, "Bring back David Patterson."
Bring back. That's what we need. Guys.
It is. We have to admit when we don't have the capacity, and it's very obvious that the present government, they don't have the capacity.
Wow.
One of the things that of the previous 5 years, I was privileged to sit on the board of the Power Producers and Distributors.
Talk us, man.
Phenomenal company run by young people. None of the management team was over 45. And they did such a splendid job of power generation. And what we found is that as soon as the government changed, their first order of business
send them home.
Got PPDI, get rid of all of the qualified
and
people,
put on the hats
and put square pegs in round holes. And this is the manifestation of why we are where we are.
Precisely. And so I'm just gonna alert the public. Much has gone wrong already. We're very late this morning. Our apologies there. But any number of things based on how the power is fluctuating and all kinds of that could happen. So bear with us. We couldn't leave you guys alone this morning. We wanted to come and share some information with you guys. We there. And it's blackout Glenford Gordon and Tamara Dawn, Sharon Morris, Dora David, Dishon Alexander.
It's really a good thing. Yes, but we were determined that we would have FYI this morning.
Most definitely.
And so we persevered, and here we are.
How else are going to the whole country in blackout? How else? FYI, the whole country in blackout.
For your information. So good morning. Let's know what the weather is like in your neck of the woods. It's cloudy here.
You see, folks, listen. On the last administration, we got a little kettle we plug in.
Oh my God.
We give up the stove thing now. We'll buy gas for a little while. We gotta go back now. Lighting the kerosene and stove. The tea is as hot as it should have. We were going somewhere, man. So you know that. Everything they went right.
And this is important that we address. We're not saying that everything went right, but we were going someplace. Blackouts were literally a thing of the past.
Yeah.
The tea like ice water this morning. The tea like ice water this morning.
Well, I'm having water. I didn't take the risk of going out with
it. I don't even know if it's tea ice water.
This is not water. I'm having aloe water.
We're going back. Part of our discussion at the further end of our program is whether some of the projects we have are overpriced. Big price tag on there, but then what are they producing?
Yes.
How much money have we given to GPL this year? The last two budgets.
Yeah, and throwing money at a problem will not solve it if you do not have the human capacity and the technical capacity to address the problem.
Yeah.
I find it inconceivable, and whilst I don't have a personal problem with the individual, that you as a government would bring back a man that you fired for
Yeah.
mismanaging the
Yeah.
power company. How much more backward can we get as a nation?
Man,
There's
it's
not
madness.
demand that
It's
bucket
madness.
demand with bucket to fix it. To me it is.
Well, they put the cat to watch milk. They put the people that break things to fix it, and this is what we've been seeing all the time. So we're not surprised. We're not surprised, but we are left like this morning. FYI, families left to just put things together to deal with this blackout that we're having, and our Guyanese throughout the country and in the diaspora are left to just fit pieces together when it comes to doing business in Guyana, and that's what we'll be discussing later on today in the program.
Look, I don't think the public usually got a good sense of the struggle it takes to try to produce a quality program locally with all of the other challenges.
Right.
I mean, so much.
Power.
It's the general services you're trying to procure to bring it all together. I mean, it's easy just to bring a smartphone, put it on some kind of a selfie stick, but if you want to do quality programming, everything in you after a while says, pack up your bags and do this from someplace else.
But then there's a family, there's FYI family, there's in the ring family, there's the below the belt family, and those are the people that actually keep pushing because those persons are out there and they're waiting. You guys are out there and you're waiting to hear what we have to say, so we make sure that it happens,
Yeah. I think we may have struck a chord.
I think somebody is listening to us.
GPL might have heard us. Let's hope the light.
Let's
hope it stays.
But that being said,
we cannot overemphasize the importance of us getting it together. And I think fundamentally we have to begin to ask ourselves, what is it that we want as a nation? Why is it that the Jamaican CEO that was doing such a good job could not be retained?
Yeah.
Why is it that PPDI had to be gutted in the manner that it was? And I hope that it rings true to Guyanese that we deserve better. We absolutely deserve better.
And that's what you've been always saying, Amanda. That's what you've been saying continually. We deserve better, and lots of it is up to us. We can sit back and we can be critical, or we can be part of the process.
Yeah.
Right? And part of that process sometimes is boots on the ground. Part of that process sometimes is contributing to the efforts to make things better, because here we are, we're there, trying the best to produce some quality programs, and then the services again, like GPL, right? Like GPL, it's not really. So, as you guys join the program, we want to thank you guys for joining. We know that we are late this morning. I want to say, I'm tempted to say no fault of our own, but in a sense, if we had the money, we just gonna buy a big generator.
And it would be a non-issue.
And it would be a non-issue. So I take responsibility for that end. I ain't got any money yet, Me ain't got no idle block. Right? We ain't got Para 1 and Para 2 and Stepbrook block and so on, right?
Yeah.
We ain't got all them things. But guys, we're here with you and we're grateful. And I'm so grateful that Amanza and Sharita are with us this morning. A couple of issues we want to go through. And I think Judith is going to take you first.
Well, actually, Sharon, I'm gonna push it. I'm actually gonna push
pull a Amanza this morning.
Actually, one of the first things we want to look at, we touched on some international issues yesterday morning, and one of the first things we want to talk about is Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson has Boris does. Yeah, so we announced that we had over the weekend actually we learned that the Queen was actually tested positive for COVID, and there comes Boris Johnson, and he says now that he has relaxed all the COVID measures and how do you go from the Queen being tested positive for COVID and now Boris Johnson, UK's Prime Minister, he basically scraps the COVID restrictions in England. Manza, how do you take this?
It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. The timing of it is interesting as well. So I await to see though the reaction of the English. The variant, the Omicron variant being still present. So I guess by and large, it will be now for the people to determine how they manage themselves in terms of still wearing their masks, still choosing to
But what a
social
stunt
distance.
for Boris Johnson to put it was a stunt, right? Because here he is in the middle of in the middle of all of this nonsense with him actually breaking his own COVID measures,
having parties.
Yes.
Apologize to Parliament.
And he's
having
taking
parties.
a beating for doing that. And there comes Boris, and Boris said, you know what? If there's no measures, I can't break any.
Yes.
Basically,
I heard one person say it was almost like if he was waiting for the Queen to get in before he rich.
Ukraine and Amantis is right up your alley here, right up Amantis alley with. I think.
I think we're all monitoring this situation. I know last we understand that peacekeeping forces were sent into certain friendly uh, parts of the Ukraine to seemingly protect the Russian-speaking persons there in the Ukraine in those two particular territories. So it really is something that has to be monitored closely, and it certainly does have implications for us here in Guyana in terms of our own border.
Correct is right.
Issue,
Correct is right.
with Venezuela. Just on Sunday last, the team, and this is where I have to really commend Carl Greenidge. The team met. I was happy to be a part of that team, and we went over our pleadings, our submissions for the border controversy. Went through them line by line before we submit. And so there is a bipartisan approach to our border issue, but the matter with Russia and Ukraine, it has some implications for us. I do not want to appear to be far-fetched, but Putin has sent peacekeeping forces because they are peacekeeping forces because they're
like quote unquote
Russian-speaking Ukrainians that need apparently protecting. This is why I always urge that we be cautious with the manner in which we allow the influx of foreigners, particularly Venezuelans, into our country. I want to be clear that we have to distinguish that from offering humanitarian aid.
Yes, we're different.
But we have a government, and if people are to go back to a presentation that I made in the National Assembly, when they passed that amendment to the Registration of Births and Deaths Act, I cautioned that you have a nation on our border that has 24 million people. It is known and it is established that this PPPC administration, that they have been offering birth certificates because they introduced the most lax requirements.
Correct.
Directly, the danger of that is, and Sharon, is that you could have what the military people call a soft invasion. Because people are beginning to settle in the Essequibo. Foreigners are beginning to settle in the Essequibo. They are establishing themselves in the Essequibo. And soon you will have people there that outnumber our 700 and something thousand.
But I can speak specifically for the Essequibo because I'm from Bartik. I can tell you because when you look in Bartik, if anybody is to go out any given day, you will see Venezuelans, Brazilians there. They have been living there for years. A lot of them have Guyanese ID cards right now. I was actually shocked when I saw some of them with Guyanese ID cards, and they have established businesses and so on and so forth. But the further up you go, the closer you are to the border, you would realize persons are coming over. There's just like a free flow. But basically,
Andretta, we have to be clear that we're not talking about those Guyanese that might have migrated to Venezuela. No. Let's make that very, very, very
no, we're
clear.
not talking about that.
The danger that we have is that we have a government that is transactional and they're very short-sighted. And so they may see offering these people citizenship as a path to them keeping power.
Yes, definitely.
Because they believe that these people will vote for them. The short-sightedness of that is, however, it jeopardizes
peacekeeping
our
forces,
sovereignty, and our territorial integrity. And that is my discomfort because of the transactional nature of the PPPC. And so Ukraine and Russia, that has lessons.
But a question I want to
For
ask, Amanda, and you are a foreign policy person in the National Assembly. I saw yesterday a statement coming out of, I think, is it either the Jamaican government or by extension the Jamaican Parliament, their position on Ukraine. And I was wondering, what is ours as a country? What is our position?
I do not know. I do not know. I as the Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister, I cannot tell you. Because again, like we keep lamenting, we have no foreign policy directive. We tend to hear announcements concerning our foreign policy from foreign embassies.
Yes.
And so one would have thought by now that maybe we would have articulated even concern and called for a peaceful resolution at the bare minimum. But alas, that has not been forthcoming.
And we continue to monitor. We definitely need to continue to monitor.
We have to. It has implications. It has implications for the price of oil that we are now relying so heavily on. I don't think people understand, and I think we have a duty to continue to bring that level of information to them. And Julieta, this goes back to why you always caution against us putting all of our eggs in the oil basket.
Well, it's strange enough that we spoke about that yesterday morning, actually, speaking about the fact that all these other sectors are taking a beating. They're taking a beat down right about now. And we see absolutely no effort being put towards bringing them back up to full strength. Everything that was said about sugar, we still see that going down the drain like we had predicted before. But what is there to say about all the other resources that we have in all the other sectors that we have in this country? We don't see anything. We don't see a balanced playing field. We don't see efforts being put on where it should be put, and we have to continue to speak out about it, because at the end of the day, this is our country. Guyana belongs to all of us,
and this is what we talk about when we talk about the Dutch disease. The neglecting of these other
resource
sectors and the contracting of these other non-oil sectors because of the expansion of the oil sector. Balance has always been the key to life. It is the key to economics. It is the key to everything. You have to have balance.
That's where we are, unfortunately. And just as we switch topics, we're following what the U.S. President has been saying about whether he meets with Mr. Putin or not is dependent on their posturing as regards Ukraine. So this is not over by a long shot. There's still ways to go, as Amanda articulated, towards a peaceful resolution to this whole issue here. Yep.
Well, I don't want to pronounce on anything regarding Putin and Russia right now, because that's a level of politics that Guyana as a country has never been involved in altogether. That is next level. What is going on there? We see Putin making a statement. I believe it was yesterday when he said that he was recognizing some parts of Ukraine, the legitimacy of the fighters there and so forth. So everyone have their speculations as to what that means, and that he's structuring a pathway so that he can basically have a presence right there in Ukraine and all of that. But we continue to monitor that situation.
I think we all can agree on one thing. We do not need war.
We do not need war.
I think the world over, we could agree on one thing. We do not need war. We have just managed to survive the ravages of COVID. So to now have to deal with this is a bit trying on our humanity, and I hope that we can have a peaceful resolution or a de-escalation of the tension.
The reality there is that we do not understand. We cannot begin to comprehend effectively how those persons live there in Ukraine and what they wake up to, and what is their fear for tomorrow.
Absolutely.
When it looked like they're on the brink of war, for all intents and purposes. That's how it's appearing to everyone. So our thoughts and prayers are with them. And I believe that our foreign policy positions should be articulated from Guyana regarding that situation.
It should be at a bare minimum calling for peace, calling for de-escalation of tensions, and appealing to our better angels to maintain peace.
Yes.
Yep. That being said, folks, a little closer to home, it seems like every day is something to do with cocaine. Something to do with coke. Coke and rum, coke and timber, coke and cola, coke, all over.
Yeah.
And we don't produce coke here. I don't think so. We don't even produce the plant, as far as I know. Right? But the amount of coke we seem to be shipping out of this country is enormous. Right? We had the Belgium bus, we had the Netherlands bus. The Belgium was the 2 point something tons. You had the 1,100 pounds to the Netherlands. And just yesterday, you had two incidents. Two incidences. You had the mastermind, the Chinese national.
Yes.
They had coke and biscuit and juice boxes.
Yeah.
And then we had coke and fried rice.
I think they said liquid coke.
Liquid
I'm way
Liquid
behind
coke.
on my information on this.
We are clearly developing capacity in other areas.
Yeah.
Not the right ones.
The wrong kind of energies we put into the wrong kinds of things.
Yes.
When we see the efforts being put into crime and actually accelerating crime, you just you think, like, what if those energies was put into good things? Actual business, legal business development. It could go a long way. Persons put the effort.
This channel. I mean, look how
It's misdirected.
That's the thing that upset me. That's the thing that
Listen.
upset me. You're going to desecrate fried rice like that. They put coke in it. That's the thing that shocked us. But we got to get a handle
It's
on
a
this
new high.
because I heard the Vice President, Mr. Jagdev, said there's a perception that there's a lot of cocaine shipments in and
Under their tenure.
Yeah. It's just a perception. He said it's propaganda and so forth. But the reality
But
seems
all
clear.
evidence to the contrary.
All evidence to the contrary.
I don't know where to start with Jack Deal. He clearly is of the mind, and maybe with some justification that if he says this,
That's what
a particular part of the population will run with it hook, line, and sinker, and he will be able to propagandize in the manner that he wants to. But all evidence to the contrary. Statistics are a thing.
Yeah.
And this is jurors.
That's my number.
This is jurors.
The numbers.
The numbers don't lie, and statistics are a thing. And so, the statistics once again.
Yes, he needs to pull up the headlines with all the bus that they had from 2015 to 2020. When you want to compare and contrast, it's not. And I often say it's not about coming to the public and saying that this is what it is. It's about coming to the public and saying this is the data, and so with this supporting data, this is where we are, and with this supporting data, this was before. You can't just come and say that it was not like that and it was worse if you don't have the support. In facts, and a lot of times we see persons going forward and they make these coverall statements and so this is what it is. But when you actually go check the data is contrary to those words that they're bringing forward.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about right now when it comes to the whole cocaine, drugs in general, and the free flow that appears to be under the current administration. And we're saying that it was not like that during the period of 2015 to 2020. And so when persons come from the current administration and they say, no, that's a perception, but we're saying, no, but this is the facts. We have supporting data that says it is a fact. So you can't just go out. Yes, I understand, and I agree with what the man has said. Those things are said because there's a perception also that once he says it, then there's a section of society that's going to go out there and they're going to believe it. But what I'm happy about, and I keep making this point, is it's 2022.
Yes.
We're in the height of the information age,
and
those very persons that rely solely on the communication from these top leadership within that organization, those persons are now empowered to be self-informed as to what is going on. They come on social media platforms and they utilize every channel available for them to get valid information, for them to see the statistics for themselves. So it's not as easy as it was before, and they have never dealt with it. They have never combated the information age.
This is why we've always maintained that the PPPC is not ready for the information age.
Yeah.
They are not ready for the information age. But the other issue that we have to tackle is the cognitive dissonance that happens when these people see information that just manifestly contradicts everything they've been taught, everything they've been told. And so I think that is where we are as a nation. How do we help our people, particularly as political leaders, surmount that cognitive dissonance? It's going to be a challenge.
We spoke about this in Emancipation over quite nicely there, and we spoke about it, but persons are basically living in denial.
Yes,
right?
basically.
You hear this data, the information is being presented to you, and you're reading the thing, oh no, this can't be so.
No.
It can't be so.
Lie to me,
I think one of the things about what Rita said is the whole notion of data-driven. I think that's one of the things we struggle with locally and struggle bigly with being data-driven. And I think we celebrate the stupidity of it too often because you can hear, for instance, the Vice President saying, this gas to show project is a no-brainer. And we're going to be talking about that a little later on in the program. It's a no-brainer. They didn't do no studies, they didn't do no analysis. You don't need an environmental impact assessment. It's just, I got a gut feeling this thing is going to be right. Right? And so you
like
proceed
he got feeling
that.
about Skeldon.
Exactly. Same gut
Same
feeling.
gut feeling he had about Skeldon.
There's
That's what you guys think is a gut feeling. I kind of think it's something under some table somewhere.
There's a roundabout. That is so feeling. There's a roundabout that's being built on Mandela Avenue, and I think it joins into a South Randolph where they're going to do they bypass. And what study went into that to dictate, the lanes must be this wide because so much traffic is going to be traversing it. I think it's a puzzle.
It is.
Right? I have a lot of chances to that as well.
You start and you think, where do I go? What do I need to do? How do I negotiate all of this matter something here? And you know what is even more? They got policemen standing there and they look confused too. They look like they don't know where to send you. Right? What informs that?
But the roundabout is in use?
We passed, yes,
it's in use.
It's in use. Wow. We seeing hills and valleys.
It is in use.
Right? I'm just wondering what informed that. But just the whole notion of
I want to do a reflection just now.
Being data driven. Even if we talk about El Mo Sugar Factory, coming back to Papa Jagabat. Apologies.
It's a morning show.
It's a morning show.
But before you go on, I just want to do a little bit of a reflection. When Sharon is speaking about the roundabout, you said on Mandela, right?
Right.
And it gives me the impression that persons forgot how it should be done, because when David Patterson was looking after roads and roundabouts, the roundabout that was brought in under David Patterson, he was the first person. I remember quite clearly the ministry putting out a detailed video, informing person on how the roundabout should be used and all of that, because that's what you do as an administration. It is your responsibility to inform people, but information is not something that this administration is good at disseminating. The dissemination of information it's a failed mechanism.
They're not interested in
they are excellent on disseminating propaganda. I must give that to them. My God, the geniuses at that.
But when you come to this roundabout, I think the idea of progress and mobility in cities, they're important ones. How we engage the city in a very efficient manner and all that. But this roundabout here, I'm telling you, it's going to be problems. There's going to be a lot of challenges because you have so many roads that are feeding into this roundabout, and the roundabout of itself is very narrow. Some of the partitions look very, very sharp.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of trouble. I think they're trying to do too many things with that one roundabout there. The angle in which the roundabout is very, very strange. They put the roundabout in that very, very weird angle there. That was basically a portion of land, I think north and south of the city. It's bordering Mandela Avenue. Well, a part of Mandela Avenue is now not going to be in use.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with this section of that road? That's going to just be overtaken by bush and what have you.
It's quite puzzling, and maybe in the scheme of things. Maybe in the scheme of things, a flyover might have been the better option.
A flyover.
To just build a flyover. But again, this is where it's important to have proper urban planning. And I really want to encourage...
Urban planning?
I want to talk...
I'm coming. No, I want to make a point on urban planning. I want to make a point on urban planning.
I want to encourage the road safety council.
We were on date.
Before.
He was making the point of the video. And if you recall, the National Road Safety Council and the Ministry of then Public Infrastructure, they put together very, very informative animated video. So we're asking, is who? Indar Edgil?
Take guidance from David Patterson.
Please.
You can call him.
Work with the National Road Safety Council and produce a video so that, we learn more visually than we do in any other
Because
way.
But when Mansa said urban planning, I don't want to miss my point. When Mansa said urban planning, my most recent memory of urban planning and studies and person that studied urban planning took me back to the fact that Irfan Ali got a PhD.
Allegedly has a PhD.
PhD in urban planning.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
So it begs the
the
question as to the legitimacy.
No, but some very simple things, even outside of the video. On this roundabout on that borders Mandela Avenue and South Granville Gardens and the bypass there to the East Bank, there is no signage right now. You need electricity
That may be a good
to charge
thing
your
based
phone
on
to
the
see the video,
signage.
and you need data. There's no signage, and even in the evening out there is dark. Again, the partitions got some very sharp edges. There are no reflectors there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there was an accident on the roundabout just last evening.
Oh, wow.
Just last evening on the roundabout. There are no signs. You're on the roundabout. Who has the right of way? So many different roads connected to this roundabout.
Who should yield? Who should go?
Yeah. So we look at that. Data, that's what we were making.
Based on the recent bit of signage that we had when it comes to the road use, I'm not thinking that it's going to help. It may be more of a calamity to actually have the signage done, because scheduling me putting that out.
A good thing for them they should have done was also the Tocqueville East Penitence Road, to do that road so you could bypass the roundabout altogether, go through Tocqueville. You could go at the back of Meadowbrook, for instance, if that road is good at the back there, or you go through the police station and access the highway back, and you head to the seawall.
But that's
if that's what you want to do.
But I believe Christopher Jones had made some points when it comes to the way in which they were doing the main road in front of Tocqueville. If I don't
No, we were talking about the road in front behind Tocqueville.
Okay, behind Tocqueville.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
So you don't need to come through south to go to
very interesting. There used to be Tocqueville, that carriageway, that eastern carriageway. There used to be, you could have turned and gone in. They blocked that up.
Yes.
I had a conversation with the Minister of Public Works. I said, look, for example, there are differently abled people who are living in East La Penitence, who when they come out in their wheelchairs or so on, have to go all the way around.
But I will give you a story.
To be able to come on the other side of the road.
I want to hear the story.
Why not make differently abled friendly passageway or an egress there, so that these people don't have to wheel themselves all the way around? It was done, but then I noticed now they've put 2 posts in it, so people in the wheelchair have to now go all the way around.
Wow.
At least another 8 minutes in the opposite direction.
Well, they're going to do a study after it's in use, and then they may break and rebuild and stuff like that.
Mandela Avenue, I think it's Fremont Street. It's Fremont Street coming from that side.
That is it. Yeah.
But as you get into the night shelter, is it the night shelter they call it? There was a man there, heading there or coming from there, who was in a wheelchair. And because of all the construction going on there, there's a lot of rubble and mud and bricks, and his wheelchair was stuck in that. And I had a good fortune of seeing him and having to stop and to help him, just to push him over. We don't think about those things.
Yeah.
Right? We put those things in place. We put in roundabout class. It's a fad. It's a nice thing, and so on.
Yeah.
But we don't really study the flow of traffic to know who's going to benefit and all that. And you guys made the very, very important point of the education, which is missing. I was privileged, Amanzo and Drita. I went on a study tour of some Latin American countries under the last administration, having to do with mobility. And something I heard, it's like you were hearing it for the first time. You know it, but you heard it for the first time. They said that an intelligent street is a street with adequate signage.
Absolutely.
So when you talk about a smart street, it's a street in which you can navigate easily.
And do you know
having to have a
this roundabout not intelligent right now?
Do you know that? So, of course, we went to the energy expo that they had, and I made it a point to visit booths and to speak to people, to speak to investors, to see how they were able to, how they were doing in terms of adjusting and establishing themselves and local content and so on. And what struck me is that one investor who is here, who is established, expressed to me their frustration with the lack of road signs. They said, coming from a country where there is proper road signage, if this is a one way, you can't go in this direction. To move around Georgetown, to move around the city is a very, very frustrating exercise. Can you imagine?
It's different here. It's different here altogether. Signage and every single thing. But when we're looking at planning all together, we need to look at you need to take pattern from more developed countries. And if you go, for example, you're talking about the wheelchair, and I have the recollection, even in New York City, there's an entire structure, entire department set up to that deals specifically with having the sidewalk, the wheelchair accessible.
Absolutely.
So there's an entire department that deals with that, and the different paint they make sure that they have to paint it regularly so persons can see from a little way off that this is where that access point is to the sidewalk. Right? So we need to get to that point that we're taking patterns and stuff like that. It's not always about who can fill their pocket and where, but how the people benefit from the projects.
You make the point of taking the example. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Everything that we think about has been done already.
And I dare say that the jeopardy that we face here is unless we frontally confront this divisive political system that we have, we will be seen as people who are not serious about development. People will come, they will loot and plunder, and they will take it back.
Correct.
To develop their own society. So Guyanese, I said this every day on this program, we really are at a crossroad. And we have to determine what is it that we want going forward.
Point taken. I have nothing more to add there. Nothing more to add there. Folks, but in other things that are happening, Our Lady Jags, Amanda and Judy Yorgan, like this. These girls are fantastic.
Absolutely.
Our Lady Jags, and they're on quite a roll. I think they're perhaps heading for some records because they played. I think was it Argentina? Was it Colombia, Bolivia?
They played some
Turks and Caicos.
They
won 4-0 against in a previous match. In
Dominica.
Well, I did not check on the person, but I did. My attention was locked in with the game with Turks and Caicos. That was it for me.
That they won 7-0.
Yes.
7-0.
Yeah, so congrats to the Lady Jags from that 4-0 with Dominica. And I won't assume that Dominica is any fly-by-night easy walk-over team. Right? But these girls, these Lady Jags, and you know what? I think I'm not so au fait with all of them. Hold on. We're not so au fait with all of them. But I have gotten a love for football in the indigenous communities. You see some of those girls in the indigenous community play football.
Yes.
As a man, you're shame. I'm telling you, those girls are strong. Yeah. I remember being in Naruka and seeing some matches there and some other places, Lethem and so on. Those girls are quick, agile, strong. Don't come down them funny. I think some of them are on this Lady Jag team well.
I think that's why it's important that we continue to invest in their capacity building and ensuring that they're exposed to the highest levels of training, because the raw potential is there. We just need to invest in training our people.
Yep. So again, congrats to the Lady Jags team, flying our flag high, making us proud. I mean, we know what the men do because the ladies, as usual, doing so exceptionally well and so effortlessly. 4-0, 7-0. Keep on.
We probably need to put some money down
keep it on
as an incentive for the men to get there. But they have been working exceedingly hard. Let me tell you something. I don't knock at them too much because of the fact that they work with such limited resources.
I was coming there.
Right? Cher said he was coming there.
I was coming down.
But we have in our country today, we speak about this oil wealth that we have now, and so much is to be should be done, and the biggest budgets ever and all of these things. But how does it impact sports and athletes at the local level altogether? We'd see a lot being pushed out. We spoke about the shows and so yesterday. But what is it that our athletes could look forward to? A more structured system, a system in which they are rewarded for what they do, for the work that they do. We have athletes out there, extremely talented young people, extremely talented, but what? They can't be training like the other athletes in other countries. They can't be training all day to accomplish what we want them to accomplish.
But I don't want to. I don't only want to talk about the athletes in that light, but even the very people who taking part in MASH winning these competitions and all that. I was listening to Omaya, I think, just this morning, and I was telling the guys that this girl got some talent singing. She was part, I think, the junior Calypso Monarch. And tremendous talent. You got Tanisha, the Freitas, well, Jomo and those guys are already household names known in the region and all that. But, what is their earning power at the end of the day? If you want to make singing a career in this country, or do you got to do like Duke Ross? You got to go someplace to develop your talent.
One would have hoped that these are the issues that would have been addressed when Charles Ramson stood to deliver his budget presentation. Instead, what you had was just a set of empty political rhetoric.
Oh my God!
He spent 4 minutes on addressing his portfolio. Yeah. But look, I have maybe a different view. I don't know if it's different, but it's a little more nuanced. And that is, I am not against the duvets and the money that they spend behind concerts and whatever.
Money gotta make.
People need to relax and people need an outlet. What I have a problem with is that we do not see the same effort and resources being poured into the development of our human resources in terms of capacity building for our athletes, for our artists. None of that. And so it really is lopsided in terms of
there is no balance. There is no balance.
On the very issue of the athletes, coming back to that, I read somewhere yesterday, Forbes magazine was dealing with the issue of Olympians and how they're paid. And they said if you bring home gold as a US athlete, in addition to what you already earn as an athlete and all of that, the system provides for you, you get $2.7 million US dollars. Now $1 million US dollars is 200 million Guyana dollars we're talking about. And if you bring home gold, you see why those people train whole day, all day long?
Right.
But that's not the only reason why they train whole day, all day. They train like that because they can train like that. Our athletes have to go out there and they have to go to 9 to 5, and then they have to go home and try to push in some time to go and do training of their own because they are not being paid to be athletes. I am bringing home the point, right? To all the people who go out there and say, answer what you all used to do. The money is here now. The resource is here now. Air Finale made that point when he spoke. He said, this is the first time we have the capital capacity to go and to develop. And where's the development? Where is the plan? Where is the structure?
This is speaking at the energy conference.
And so I hope that the propagandists that love to jump on Facebook take the point that Juretta is making, because this is an admission from all them. Oh, y'all they doing when you were there.
The very first time the resources here.
That the resources are available. And again, what we have seen from this government is a lack of planning, a lack of clarity as to how these resources that are now available for the first time are going to be spent. And so, look, I am firmly resolved that unless Guyanese, irrespective of ethnicity, demand better, that we are not going to live the kind of life that Guyana could afford us. It's Republic. We were about to celebrate our Republic anniversary, and that was the notion of us becoming a republic. That we would shed the vestiges of colonialism, that we would shed the last vestiges of connection to the monarchy, and we would be able to self-determine.
52 years later.
But I feel like I want to go back. I don't know. Always this black thing here. I think the people that have been looking different. I think like I want to go back. No.
I think it is time for a renewal of the republic. That is what I think it is. I think it is time that we in this generation, that we transport ourselves back to what our foreparents felt 52 years ago. Here we are, coming from slavery, from Kofi and his rebellion, to emancipation, from emancipation to independence, and then deciding as a state, yes, we're independent, but now we need to perfect this thing. And so we became a republic, having our Court of Appeal as our final court, having an executive president, Guyana established itself as the leader in terms of progressive politics in this part of the hemisphere. We were the first cooperative republic in the world.
And then we stopped.
It is so concerning to see that people who have that kind of heritage are now taking lectures and lessons from nations who have only within the last 365 days shed the vestige of being connected to the monarchy. And further I say now.
Yeah,
I
because
feel that. I feel that one. I'm drinking water.
you know,
I feel that one.
and I think, Amanza, your point is
I feel
sound.
that.
Your point is sound on what you just made there, and we have to realize, and I keep saying it, we cannot continue to live in a country in which, as a people, we allow the divide and rule, divide and conquer, because we, as a people, we suffer. This is what we're seeing right here, right now. The only way that we could move forward and for all to benefit is for us to realize that we have to collectively. It has to be a system of collective bargaining. This is half bargaining, half going to give. It has to be a collective bargaining as a people, as a country.
Hence the insertion of the word cooperative
Yes.
before republic. You see, they don't teach our children these things in school. When I was a little girl growing up, I had to learn all of the national songs. There's not a national song that exists about Guyana that I do not know word for word, because this is what I was taught. And then you combine that with a father in the military, and you have to learn the importance of the flag and why is the flag hoisted and why is the flag to be treated with such reverence. And so that instills in you a sense of nationhood,
pride.
You look at Trinidad, for example. Trinidad not interested in confiscating our matrimony, but here we are having carnival in Guyana, and it is symptomatic.
I feel bad when you say that, man.
No, but
they're not interested in confiscating.
They're not. You hear them talking about matrimony? They have perfected carnival.
I feel a little differently.
Why is it that we as a nation cannot therefore develop and invest in our matrimony that is ours? That's ours, yo. They ain't got nobody else in the world that got it. But just like how we adopt Halloween, we have to stop as a people and take stock of ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is why we will continue to be blown about with every wind of doctrine, because we have not established a Guyanese-ness. You look at Trinidad.
Yeah.
Trinidad got songs about Trinidad to the bone. There is a sense of just national pride. Where is ours?
Well, we have a system in which we spoke about it a few times. You know, people before they just have to hit the airport and they're
my God. That being said, folks, I want to say congrats to all the folks who were big winners at this year's Matrimony celebrations, whether it was
Guyanese thing.
Matrimony, whether it was the junior, the Calypso Monarchs or the Soca Monarchs or the Chutney Monarchs. We had also Panorama was happening. Even that name got its own thing. Panorama, you had something else happened. You had the duck curry competition. We want to say big congrats to all of the folks. I think I'm missing something. The Mash Queen.
I was just about
the Mash Queen competition that happened as well. And all the folks, I know Jomo won in the Soca Monarch category. You had, was it Lil somebody won for the
I cannot
Junior
remember
Calypso
the name off the top of my head.
I'm watching a young lady in her Little Canary.
Yes,
Little Canary.
That's it.
Junior Monarch, and then you had the Soca and all the other persons, I think, who perform exceptionally well. And again, it's a discussion we have to have cooperatively, how we move this country forward, how we develop our the arts, how we develop the persons who this is their career. They are gifted in this way, in singing and dance and writing music, copyright, and all of those things. Got to bring to bear, and we have to be part of that national discussion. And big congrats to all the folks. I know it was. I was looking at the Monarch because Samuel won last year. I think he brought third this year. I'm trying to recollect who got into second place. My God! So you deal with so much information in a 24-hour basis. It's yesterday's news, really and truly. But congrats to all of the folks. I'm certain they worked hard. When you see some of the performances, and again, it was just trying to catch up with some of that. Hold up. It's only trying to come to grips with all of it. This morning, I was catching up with some of what was happening in the Junior Monarch and I was listening to Umayo, and I was thinking, this young lady got talent. This young lady got talent, and it is sad in a sense that people gotta, when you finish singing, you gotta go look at work because this thing here really bringing in money, and then the industry of itself got its own shortcoming and all of that.
But you know what? Like I always say, we're the opportunity presents itself for us to do something great and to invest in our people.
Yeah.
Trinidad invested in Carnival, which is why it is what it is today. People travel from all over the world to come to Carnival in Brazil, in Trinidad. We have the potential to do that here with our Mashramani. And so we have to continue to advocate for governments to, whichever government it is, to be able to inject the resources and to train our people. And I want to say big up to everybody who entered. Entering that competition takes guts.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
so, congratulations.
Agreed.
To
Agreed.
each and every one of them.
And so proud of all of them because I can assure you that the only one I was going to try my hand was the Corey competition. I was not trying. I'm not trying it at singing. I'm sorry. You know, I listen and support. I'll be your biggest fan and cheerleader.
Cheer in the crowd.
I'm not going to be singing anything, not even at a karaoke. I'm not going to do that.
That being said, I think the biggest issue that we're gonna wrap up our program on is, you know, the price of progress. That was the biggest issue we're looking at today. And we talked about some of it invariably leading up to the big issue. The price of progress, that's the big issue for this morning. And it's basically, you know, you have these big projects that are happening and they say, oh, we need this to progress. Those were the arguments, if you look back, that the vice president made when he was president, for instance, for the Enmore Sugar Factory. Yes, we need this 12 million or how much ever US built the factory, if not billion. Right? And this is going to make sugar great again. And we need this price, the market price for the gas ashore that's currently at, I think it's $1 billion US dollars. It used to be somewhere around 600 billion. Now it's $1 billion US dollars, the price tag for the gas ashore. And we need a Minor Falls. We need FIP Motilan to come back, just like the one they have at the power company. We need FIP to come back. This is going to solve all the problems. The big price tag. But what is the real price of progress? Right? We seem to be, and I think someone of us made the point this morning. We seem to think if we throw money at the problem, right? The more it costs, the better it is, as against investing in the people. Right? Investing in the artists, investing in the chemists, investing in the engineers, investing in the people who are going to take over the oil and gas sector very, very shortly, who we should be investing in. What is the real price of progress? Now look, all of the billions of amounts are treated, they spent it and more. And now they just sell it off like it's nothing.
And not only sell it off, but in a manner that just smacks in the face of Guyanese. The price of progress. I can only think about Singapore. Singapore and Guyana gained independence around the same time. But Lee Kuan Yew took a decision to invest in his people because they were bereft of natural resources. Singapore used to import water from Malaysia next door. They didn't even have water. And look at what they are now as a nation. They took a decision that they would invest in their people. Guyana is blessed with natural resources and human resources of a capacity that you don't find. You go anywhere in this world, you'll find a Guyanese on top of something, managing something. And that is because inherent in us is a capacity to do great things. Correct. But the sad reality is that you very often have to leave to be able to realize that potential. What is apparent to me with the Enmore is that there is no plan. We see how is it moving from yes, we're gonna reopen it to now it's being sold.
But that is the plan. The plan is to lie and deceive and then go and do something else. That is the plan. That is their plan.
Warned us about this.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
He did very, very early. He said to the.
He said that they know.
Do not be fooled. They know.
They know.
Again, they capitalize on the toxicity that they themselves have created in the political culture, and they mislead. Now, Enmore is no more. It's now a pipe yard. So you find that there is no plan. Projects are shifting and changing all the time. And that is because there is absolutely no plan. And I dare say the people of Guyana would have it so. Because if we didn't want it so, we would rise up and we would change it.
I have when you talk about the cost and the price of progress altogether, um, I come from a background of economics, so we often look at opportunity costs,
Right.
when you're dealing with any project. And so a person of finance and strict finance background would say that, oh, well, this project costs $5 billion and this is how we go about. But in economics, they teach us that no, we have to say, well, if this project costs $5 billion, is this the best option? And what is the next best opportunity foregone? That is the opportunity cost, right? But when we talk about the price of progress and the cost of progress, then the first thing that comes to my mind is who bears this cost? Who is bearing the cost of progress to this country? And the truth is, no matter how you twist it and turn it, the population, the people, the working class of this country is bearing the cost. And I could say to myself, it's the fact. We cannot look at it in terms of the money that persons are paying right now in taxation, right? That's not the only way in which you contribute as a citizen of the country, when the resources that should be used for your development to see you in a better community, safer neighborhoods, no drugs pushing through the street, no robbers on the street, and all of those things. In a country that have the resource to make sure that you are safe, to make sure that you are well taken care of, to make sure that you and your children, your futures are secure when it comes to education. If those investments are not made, you are being the ones to bear the cost.
Absolutely.
You are the one that are bearing the cost for progress, and I dare say the lack of development in human progress. There is no such thing. You cannot go out and have all this industrialization and all of that if you do not factor in the human part of it. The human factor is the most important factor, and the human factor. The people in this country are left to bear the cost. So it's not just what is the cost, but who bears the cost of the development altogether. And the cost of development in this country is being borne by the citizens of this country.
I couldn't put it any better.
Yep.
Which is why it bothers me when you hear the vice president emphasize issues of infrastructural development.
Yes.
We are not saying don't do infrastructural development, and that must be made very, very clear. But like I pointed out when I was making the budget speech, that you have a 109% increase in capital expenditure money you're going to use to build roads, bridges, etc. Why not bring it down to 75 and reallocate to invest more in your
And the
human
people.
resources so that you have a balanced approach to this thing?
Yeah.
But, we will continue to speak to the people. Hopefully one day 10 people are here and then another 10 will hear, and sooner or later a spark will be lit across Guyana. And Robeson, I don't mean a literal spark. Because when we say certain things, you get accused You can hear us, please.
Confirm. Lloyd.
No sound. Peggy Laya says no sound. Yolanda says no sound.
Yep. Good to have Latifia Lois with us and Peggy Elias. Good to have Tony Noel, and good to have good to have Naomi Drucker and Jenny Booker and Joyce Prince Kingston and all the other beautiful, fantastic.
Yeah, so our song is back.
Yeah, Amanda.
Well, thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. Tomorrow, as you know, we celebrate our 52nd anniversary as a republic. And our encouragement to you today is, as we go into those celebrations, let us really pause and reflect on the true meaning of being a republic. Yes. It's more than Rashomani. It's more than, parties and costumes. But republic to me is really our last stand at self-determination. And I think we want to encourage you to let that permeate and to be able to use the day to reflect, because we as a people have to take this nation forward, and we have to start someplace. And the place that we start is realizing that in ourselves we have the power to change it. Power concedes nothing without a demand. So you go forth and be great, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock once GPL allows.
Once GPL allows.
Once GPL allows. So good morning, guys. We see Wilma Grant as we head out, and Janice Booker and Stephen Monroe. Alison Pearson.
Stephen Monroe name is called.
Yeah, Bedford Gordon.
Juliet
says she's loving the outfit. Yes, we feel a bit festive.
Not so much effort put into it.
As we were talking, somebody said to us when they came into the studio yesterday that I thought that this yellow at the back of me was just fling across. The monitor, just because we want to fling it across, but I didn't realize there was a pattern also.
Yeah.
But it was a white comment.
There's a white here that comes across the other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to get shocking white.
Cheryl has a bit of OCD for person that don't know. So he likes everything to be uniquely placed. So everything has to be, all edges have to be aligned properly, and all of them.
Everything has a place, and the place exists for everything.
Oh my goodness.
I hear you, my brother. I hear you.
Oh my goodness.
Guys, it was nice being here with you.
Thank you for having us.
That's it.
Have a good one, guys.
That's it.